The Monument of Eternal Peace stood at the center of the Galactic Council's capital world. It was a massive structure made of black stone and glowing crystal. Holographic images floated around it, showing the final moments of dozens of extinct species. At the very top, larger than all the others, was the image of a blue and green planet surrounded by flames. Earth. Ambassador Velthar stood before the monument, with his hands clasped behind his back. His silver scales caught the light of 3 suns overhead. He was old now, much older than he had been 200 years ago, when he led the coalition fleet that ended the human problem. The other species called it the Final War. Historians called it a tragic necessity. Velthar called it the greatest weight on his conscience. "Beautiful ceremony today, Ambassador," said Council Chair Moratk, approaching from behind. The chair was a short, round creature with too many eyes and a voice that always sounded like he was selling something. "Your speech about the lessons we learned from humanity's stubborn nature was very moving." Velthar did not turn around. "I simply spoke the truth as I understood it 2 centuries ago." "As you understood it?" Moratka's tentacles twitched with confusion. "You sound uncertain, old friend." The humans refused every reasonable offer. They would not leave their planet for proper resource extraction. They started the conflict when they destroyed our mining ships. "So the reports said," Velthar replied quietly. Before Morat could respond, a sharp alarm cut through the peaceful garden surrounding the monument. Every species present looked up at the sky. Velthar's communication device buzzed against his wrist. He activated it and saw his aide's face, filled with panic. "Ambassador, we have a situation. A distress signal just activated. It's using old human encryption codes." The garden fell silent. Several ambassadors moved closer to hear. "That's impossible," Moratk said, his voice rising. "The humans are extinct. Someone found old technology and activated it by accident." Velthar's heart beat faster. "Where's the signal coming from?" "Rel. The drift zones, sir. Sector 774. No one has explored that area properly in over a century. It's too dangerous and too empty to bother with." "Empty," Velthar repeated. He thought about that word. Empty meant unexplored. Empty meant forgotten. Empty meant perfect for hiding. "This is clearly a malfunction, or a pirate trick," Moratk announced loudly to the gathered crowd. "We should ignore it and continue our ceremony. Today is about remembering the past, not chasing ghosts." But Velthar was already walking toward the transport platforms. "Captain Rix," he called out. A young Kryn officer, barely 30 years old, snapped to attention. "Prepare my ship. We leave within the hour." "Sir, you can't be serious." Morat hurried after him. "You're one of our most respected ambassadors. You don't need to investigate every random signal personally." Velthar stopped and turned to face the chair. His eyes were hard. 200 years ago, I gave the order that ended a species. I watched Earth burn from orbit. If there is even the smallest chance that someone survived, I need to know. I need to see it with my own eyes." Moratk's tentacles curled inward, a sign of disapproval. "And if it is humans? What then? Do you expect them to forgive you? To thank you for finally checking if you finished the job properly?" "No," Velthar said simply. "I expect them to hate me, but I will go anyway." 3 days later, Velthar's ship emerged from faster-than-light travel at the coordinates of the signal. Captain Rix sat at the navigation console, his young face showing confusion. "Sir, I'm reading structures ahead. Multiple structures. This sector was supposed to be empty." Velthar leaned forward in his command chair. "Show me." The main view screen flickered to life. What appeared before them made every crew member gasp. Floating in the darkness of space was a station. Not a small outpost or a mining platform, but a proper city station with rotating habitation rings, docking bays, and defensive platforms. Lights glowed from thousands of windows. Ships moved in and out of the bays in organized patterns. "Run identification scans," Velthar ordered, though his hearts already knew what they would find. "Sir, the architecture doesn't match any known species. The power signatures are strange. The metal compositions are..." "Wait." Rix looked up with wide eyes. Sir, these designs match old Earth databases. This is human construction. But that's impossible. How could they build something this large? 200 years, Velthar said quietly. 200 years of hiding and building and surviving. We thought we ended them. We assumed the story was finished. Should we contact them? Rix asked. Before Velthar could answer, his communication console activated on its own. A face appeared on the screen. It was a human face. Velthar had seen humans before, of course. He had seen them through weapon sites and on casualty reports. But this was the first living human he had seen in 2 centuries. She was a woman with dark hair pulled back from her face. Her skin was brown, and her eyes were the color of Earth's oceans in the old images. Those eyes looked at Velthar with an expression that was neither friendly nor hostile. It was the look of someone who had been waiting a very long time. Ambassador Velthar of the Kryn Empire, she said in perfect galactic standard. Her voice was calm and controlled. We've been expecting you, eventually. My name is Commander Sarah Chen. Welcome to New Haven. Velthar found his voice with difficulty. Commander Chen. We received your distress signal. Sarah's expression didn't change. That wasn't a distress signal, Ambassador. That was an invitation. We decided it was time to have a conversation. Your ship is cleared to dock in Bay 12. Come alone, please. We have much to discuss. The transmission ended. Rix turned to Velthar. Sir, this could be a trap. We should call for backup. We should inform the council. Velthar stood slowly. His old joints ached, reminding him of all the years that had passed. No backup. No council. Not yet. If the humans wanted revenge, Captain, they could have destroyed us the moment we arrived. Their defensive platforms have been tracking us since we entered the sector. How do you know that, sir? Because it's what I would do, Velthar replied. And humans were always better at tactics than we gave them credit for. Prepare a shuttle. I'm going to meet Commander Chen. As Velthar walked toward the shuttle bay, he thought about the monument back on the capital world. He thought about the holographic image of Earth burning. He thought about all the speeches he had given about lessons learned and necessary sacrifices. The humans were not extinct. The story was not finished. And Velthar had a terrible feeling that everything he thought he knew about the war was about to be proven wrong. The shuttle launched toward New Haven Station. Toward 50,000 humans who had survived in secret for 200 years. Toward a truth he had never been allowed to see. Velthar whispered to himself in the empty shuttle. What have we done? Cromerman down. Kroner. The shuttle bay of New Haven Station was clean and organized. Velthar stepped out of his small craft and immediately noticed the differences from council stations. Everything here was designed for efficiency rather than show. The walls were painted in soft colors with simple patterns. Signs written in Old Earth languages pointed toward different sections. The air smelled different too, carrying scents he remembered from long ago. A group of humans waited for him. They wore simple uniforms in dark blue, with Earth's ancient symbol on their shoulders. A planet surrounded by olive branches, the symbol of peace. Velthar felt a sharp pain in his chest seeing it. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the front of the group. She was tall for a human, standing straight with military precision. Behind her were 6 others, all watching Velthar with careful expressions. Not angry, not afraid. Just watchful. Ambassador, Sarah said, extending her hand in the old human greeting. Thank you for coming alone. It shows courage. Velthar took her hand carefully. Human skin was soft and warm compared to his scales. Commander Chen, I have many questions. And I have answers, Sarah replied. Walk with me. I want to show you something first. She led him through corridors filled with people. Human children ran past, laughing and playing. Adults worked at various stations, some growing plants in hydroponic gardens, others repairing equipment. Everyone stopped to look at Velthar as he passed. Some faces showed curiosity, others showed harder emotions. How many? Velthar asked quietly. 50,312, Sarah answered. That's how many humans live on New Haven. We have 6 other smaller stations scattered through the drift zones. In total, about 200,000 survivors. Velthar's mind struggled with the number. 200,000. Out of billions. Out of 11 billion, Sarah corrected. That's how many people lived on Earth when your fleet arrived. She stopped walking and turned to face him. Tell me, Ambassador, what do your history books say about the final war? Velthar recited what every council citizen knew. Humanity refused to relocate from Earth for proper resource extraction. When the council sent mining operations, human military forces destroyed 3 ships, killing thousands. The council had no choice but to respond with force. After months of warnings, humanity still refused to surrender. The final bombardment was tragic but necessary to prevent further conflict. Sarah's expression remained calm, but something flickered in her eyes. And you believed this? I was the fleet commander, Velthar said. I saw the reports. I gave the final order. Then let me show you what really happened. Sarah opened a door and led him into a large room filled with display screens. This is our archive. We saved everything we could from Earth. Every record, every transmission, every piece of evidence. She activated one of the screens. An image appeared, showing Earth from orbit. It looked peaceful and beautiful. The date stamp showed it was from 202 years ago, 3 months before the final war. This is Earth before the Council arrived, Sarah said. We were not a military society, Ambassador. We had defense forces, yes. But Earth itself was a civilian world. Our military bases were on Mars, on Europa, on the outer colonies. Earth was home to our families, our elderly, our children, our farms and schools and hospitals. Another image appeared. Council ships entering Earth's space. When your corporations requested Earth for mining, we said no. Not because we wanted to fight, but because 11 billion people lived there. We offered alternatives. We offered to help mine asteroids, to share technology, to work together. Every offer was rejected. Velthar watched as more images appeared. He saw transmissions he had never been shown before. Human diplomats making reasonable proposals. Council corporate representatives dismissing everything. Then this happened, Sarah said. Her voice became harder. The screen showed human mining ships near Earth's moon. Suddenly, they exploded. The footage was clear. Council military vessels firing first, destroying civilian mining operations. Your corporations wanted to make us look like aggressors, Sarah continued. They destroyed their own ships and blamed us. They needed an excuse for war because Earth had resources worth trillions, and we were in the way. Velthar felt sick. No. I saw reports. I saw evidence of human attacks. Fabricated evidence. Sarah pulled up document after document. We've had 200 years to analyze everything. The truth is simple. Ambassador. Corporate interests wanted Earth. The Council believed their lies. And we became the victims. She showed him more footage. Human evacuation ships fleeing Earth in secret. Military forces buying time for civilians to escape. The final transmission from Earth showing burning cities. But the images were taken from only a few locations, made to look like the entire planet. We staged the final transmission, Sarah admitted. By that point, we knew we couldn't win a direct fight, so we made you think you had won. We made you think we were extinct. We needed time to hide, to rebuild, to figure out what to do next. Velthar sat down heavily in a nearby chair. His legs felt weak. All this time, 200 years, I thought I ended a war. I thought I saved Council lives by making a hard choice. You were lied to, Sarah said, her voice softer now. I don't hate you personally, Ambassador. My parents told me about the war before they died. They said you were an honorable soldier who believed he was doing the right thing. But your honor was used as a weapon by people who only cared about profit. She pulled up one more image. It showed a young girl, maybe 6 years old, being carried onto an evacuation ship by her mother. The girl was crying and looking back at Earth. That's me, Sarah said quietly. I was 6 when we fled. I grew up on these stations, learning about the home I barely remembered, learning why we had to hide, learning to survive. Velthar looked at the image of young Sarah, then at the woman standing before him now. She had spent her entire life in hiding, because of his actions, because of lies he had believed. Why tell me this now? He asked. Why reveal yourselves after 200 years? Sarah's expression became serious. Because the galaxy faces a new threat, and we need you to understand the truth before we can talk about the future. 3 months ago, our long-range sensors detected something entering Council space from beyond the galactic rim. We've been monitoring your communications. You call them the Vakar swarm. Velthar's head snapped up. You know about the Vakar? We've been watching the galaxy for 2 centuries, Ambassador. We know about every Council military movement, every political situation, every threat. The Vakar are different from anything the Council has faced. They're adaptive, intelligent, and completely hostile. Your military is not prepared for them. And humans are? Velthar asked. Sarah smiled slightly. It was not a happy smile. We're survivors. Ambassador, we've spent 200 years hiding in the most dangerous parts of space. Building from nothing. Preparing for the day we might need to fight again. We know things about survival and adaptation that the Council forgot a long time ago. She walked closer to him. I'm going to make you an offer, Ambassador Velthar. Humanity will help the Council fight the Vakar. We'll share our knowledge, our strategies, our resources, but we want something in return. What do you want? Velthar asked, though he already knew. Recognition, Sarah said firmly. We want the Council to acknowledge what was done to us. We want the truth told. We want our people to be free to exist without hiding. We want our children to grow up in the light instead of in the shadows. She paused. We want justice. Not revenge. Justice. Velthar stood slowly. He looked around the room at all the evidence, all the truth he had never been allowed to see. He thought about the monument back home with its lies carved in stone. He thought about the speech he had given just days ago about lessons learned. I will take your message to the Council, he said. I will tell them everything. But you need to understand something, Commander. There are people in power who benefited from Earth's fall, people who still benefit from keeping the truth hidden. They will fight against this. Sarah nodded. We know. That's why we need you, Ambassador. We need someone inside the Council who knows the truth and has the courage to speak it. Will you help us? Velthar looked at her for a long moment. Then he stood straight and placed his hand over his heart in the Kryn gesture of solemn oath. I will correct my mistake, he said, or I will die trying. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was chaos. 300 representatives from across known space filled the grand chamber, all shouting at once. Velthar stood at the center platform, waiting for silence. In his hands, he held a data device containing everything Sarah Chen had shown him. The truth about Earth. The truth about the final war. Council Chair Morat K finally activated the silence field. The shouting stopped, replaced by angry gestures and flashing communication lights. Ambassador Velthar, Morat K said, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. You have made extraordinary claims. Humans alive. A conspiracy spanning 2 centuries. Fabricated evidence. These are serious accusations. They are not accusations, Velthar replied calmly. They are facts. I have brought proof. Video evidence, documents, testimony from the humans themselves. Everything is available for independent verification. A Tholian representative stood up, her crystalline form reflecting the chamber lights. Even if humans survived, why should we care? They were defeated. They hid like cowards. Why bring this before the Council now? Velthar activated the holographic display. Images of Vakar swarm ships appeared above the platform. The recordings showed 3 Council colonies being destroyed in brutal efficiency. Ships torn apart. Stations dissolved by unknown weapons. Millions dead in days. Because of this, Velthar said. The Vakar swarm has entered our space. In the past month, we have lost 3 colonies. Our military has engaged them 4 times. We have won 0 victories. The Vakar adapt to our weapons faster than we can develop new ones. Our tactics fail because they learn from every encounter. The chamber fell silent. Everyone had seen the reports. Everyone knew about the Vakar threat, even if they tried to downplay it publicly. The humans have been monitoring the Vakar since they first detected them, Velthar continued. They have strategic analysis and tactical suggestions. They are offering to help us, but they want something in return. Let me guess, said Ambassador Krell, a military representative from the Vortan clans. They want us to admit we were wrong. They want apologies and recognition. They want us to look weak in front of the entire galaxy. They want justice, Velthar corrected. There is a difference. Moratk's tentacles curled inward. This is manipulation. The humans are using our current crisis to gain political advantage. We should reject their offer and handle the Vakar ourselves. With what? Velthar asked sharply. We have already lost tens of thousands of soldiers. The Vakar are moving toward more populated systems. At current rates, they will reach the inner colonies within 6 months. Can we afford to reject help because of our pride? A younger representative stood up. Her name was Ciara, from the Kryn Diplomatic Corps. She was Captain Rix's cousin, and part of a new generation that questioned the old ways. I propose we at least hear what the humans have to offer, Ciara said. Ambassador Velthar is a decorated war hero. He would not bring this to us without serious consideration. We should review the evidence he has gathered and make an informed decision. Absolutely not, snapped a corporate representative named Vex. He represented the mining conglomerates that had profited from Earth's resources. This is clearly a human trick. They want revenge for their defeat. If we show weakness now, every defeated species will demand new negotiations. Velthar noticed how quickly corporate interests aligned against the proposal. They had the most to lose if the truth came out. Questions would be asked about who profited from Earth's fall. Criminal investigations might follow. Perhaps we should vote, suggested the Tholian representative. Those in favor of reviewing the evidence and considering human assistance. And those against. Moratke looked uncomfortable. A vote would create a record. It would force representatives to choose sides publicly. Very well. We will vote. But I want it noted that this sets a dangerous precedent. The vote was called. Velthar watched as the display board showed the results. Green lights for yes. Red lights for no. The numbers climbed slowly. Green, 147. Red, 153. The proposal failed. Velthar felt his heart sink. The council had chosen pride over survival. They would rather face the Vakar alone than admit they might have been wrong about humans. But then the chamber doors opened. Captain Rix rushed in, his face pale. Behind him, 3 military commanders followed. All looking grim. Council chair, we have an emergency, Rix announced. The Vakar have attacked Pelora 4. The entire defensive fleet is engaged. Early reports suggest heavy casualties. Pelora the 4. One of the most populated worlds in Council space. Home to 15 billion citizens across 3 species. If it fell, the psychological impact would be devastating. Moratke tried to maintain control. We have protocols for this. The military will respond according to standard defensive doctrine. Standard doctrine is failing, one of the commanders said bluntly. Admiral Torth requested permission to try unconventional tactics. He was denied by your office 2 days ago. Now his fleet is being torn apart. Ciara stood again. This is exactly what Ambassador Velthar warned about. We cannot fight the Vakar using old methods. We need new thinking. We need help. Vex jumped up. You want to trust humans at our most vulnerable moment? They could use this crisis to attack us themselves. Velthar's communication device buzzed. It was a message from Sarah Chen. He read it quickly, then looked up at the council. Commander Chen has sent a message, he announced. She says human observers have been tracking the Vakar attack patterns. They believe they have identified a weakness in Vakar formation tactics. They are willing to share this information immediately, with no conditions attached, to save lives at Pelora 4. A trap, Moratk said immediately. Obviously a trap. Or, Ciara said quietly. It is what humans do. They help people who need help. Even people who wronged them. Maybe that is something we forgot how to do. Another message came through on the chamber's main communication system. It was from Admiral Torth at Pelora 4. His voice was strained and desperate. Council, we are losing this battle. Casualties are at 40% and climbing. I am requesting any and all assistance. I do not care where it comes from. Billions of lives are at stake. The chamber was silent. Every representative understood what this meant. If Pelora 4 fell, the Vakar would have a clear path to the inner systems. The war would come to everyone's doorstep. Velthar spoke into the silence. The humans are not asking for recognition right now. They are not demanding apologies or justice as a condition for helping at Pelora 4. They are offering freely because people are dying. This is who they are. This is what we tried to destroy 2 centuries ago. He looked directly at Murat. If we refuse this help, and Pelora 4 falls, history will judge us. Our children will ask why we chose pride over billions of lives. What will we tell them? Murat K's tentacles trembled. He was trapped. If he refused and Pelora fell, he would be blamed. But if he accepted, it would legitimize the human presence. I am not giving them recognition, Murat said finally, but I am authorizing military consultation on a temporary basis. Human advisors may work with our military commanders to address the immediate Vakar threat. Nothing more. It was not enough. It was barely anything at all. But it was a crack in the wall. Velthar activated his communicator and sent a message to Sarah Chen. You have limited authorization to advise our military. Can you help at Pelora 4? Sarah's response came quickly. We can do more than advise. We can show you what humans do best. Tell Admiral Torth to give us a chance. Just one chance. Velthar looked around the chamber at all the representatives who had voted against helping humans, who still believed the lies about Earth's fall. They would learn the truth eventually. But first, they would learn what humans were capable of when lives were at stake. Commander Chen says they are ready to assist, Velthar announced. I am forwarding her strategic recommendations to Admiral Torth now. As the data transferred, Velthar thought about Sarah's words. Humans would help even those who wronged them. Even those who still denied them justice. Because that was what humans did. The Council was about to remember why humanity had been dangerous to their comfortable lives. Not because humans were warriors, but because humans were better than them. Admiral Torth stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His fleet was dying, 42 ships destroyed in 3 hours. The Vakar swarm moved through his formations like they knew every move before he made it. Every time he adapted, they adapted faster. Sir, incoming transmission from Council Command. His communication officer reported. They're forwarding tactical data from human advisors. Humans? Torth's second officer looked confused. Sir, humans are extinct. Apparently not, Torth said grimly. He had no time to worry about the politics. If this data could save his people, he would take help from anyone. Put it through. A face appeared on his screen. Commander Sarah Chen looked calm despite the chaos behind her on what appeared to be a human command center. Admiral Torth, I'm Commander Chen of the Human Defense Initiative. I've been monitoring your battle. With respect, sir, you're fighting them wrong. Torth felt his pride sting, but he swallowed it. Then tell me how to fight them right. Quickly. The Vakar are a hive mind, Sarah explained rapidly. They learn from every encounter and share information instantly. Your tactical doctrine assumes individual ship behavior. You're trying to outthink them one move at a time. They're always going to be faster at that game. So what do we do? Torth asked. You teach them the wrong lessons, Sarah said. Feed them patterns that look effective but have fatal weaknesses. Let them adapt to tactics that will destroy them later. It's psychological warfare against a collective intelligence. Torth looked at his tactical officer. Can we implement this? It goes against everything we're taught, sir. We would have to intentionally use flawed formations. End quote. Do it, Torth ordered. Send me the complete strategy, Commander Chen. Data flooded his screen. Human tactical recommendations appeared in clear, simple language. Torth read quickly and felt a chill run down his spine. This was not standard military thinking. This was creative, unpredictable, and frankly dangerous. It was also brilliant. Sir, 3 more ships requesting permission to retreat, someone called out. The Vakar have broken through Sector 7. Negative on retreat, Torth said. All ships, new formation pattern. Execute the human recommendations exactly as written. Trust the process. His officers looked uncertain but obeyed. Ships moved into formations that seemed deliberately weak. They exposed flanks that should have been protected. They created gaps that invited attack. The Vakar took the bait. They surged through the gaps, their ships moving with terrifying coordination. Torth watched his tactical display and forced himself to wait. Every instinct screamed at him to correct the formation. Hold positions, he commanded. Let them come. The Vakar surrounded 3 council cruisers, their weapons charged. Then Sarah's voice came through the communication channel. Now, Admiral, execute Phase 2. Torth gave the order. The weak formations suddenly collapsed inward. Ships that appeared vulnerable revealed they had been drawing the Vakar into a trap. The gaps closed. Overlapping fire patterns activated. In 30 seconds, the Vakar force that had been surrounding council ships found themselves caught in a killing zone. Direct hits on multiple Vakar vessels. The tactical officer reported, his voice filled with surprise. Sir, it's working. They adapted to a pattern we wanted them to learn. Don't celebrate yet, Sarah warned. They'll figure it out soon. Switch to pattern 3 in 90 seconds. Keep them learning the wrong lessons. For the next 2 hours, Admiral Torth followed human tactical guidance. Every time the Vakar adapted, Sarah had a new pattern ready. She was thinking 3 steps ahead, teaching the Vakar to respond in ways that would hurt them later. But back on the Council capital world, not everyone was happy about the human involvement. General Court stood in his command office, watching the battle reports from Pelora 4 with growing anger. He was one of the Council's highest-ranking military officers. He had built his career on traditional doctrine and proper procedure. Seeing Admiral Torth succeed with human tactics felt like a personal insult. This is unacceptable, he told his staff. We are the Galactic Council military. We have defended civilization for thousands of years. We do not need help from a species we defeated 2 centuries ago. His aide spoke carefully. Sir, the casualty rates have dropped significantly since the humans became involved. Admiral Torth reports 60% reduction in losses. Because Torth is using tricks and deception, Court snapped. Real military victory comes from strength and proper discipline. These human methods are temporary solutions at best. At worst, they make us look weak. He activated his communication array and sent orders directly to the fleet commanders. All vessels, you are to return to standard tactical doctrine. Human advisory input is to be considered optional and secondary to established procedures. At Pelora 4, Admiral Torth received the order with fury. Optional? We're winning. My people are surviving. And Court wants us to go back to losing? Captain Rix, who had been serving as liaison with the human advisors, spoke up. Sir, you don't have to follow that order immediately. You could claim communication delays. I could, Torth agreed. But other commanders might not. And if they switch back to standard doctrine while we're using human tactics, our formations won't coordinate properly. People will die. Sarah's face appeared on the screen again. Admiral, I heard the order. We understand if you need to follow your chain of command. Torth looked at her, then at his crew. Young people who had survived today because they trusted human strategies. He thought about the families on Pelora 4 below them. 15 billion souls, protected by tactics that someone like General Court considered improper. Commander Chen, I will continue following your recommendations until this battle is won, Torth said firmly. My career can be destroyed later. Right now, my duty is to my crew and the people depending on us. But 3 other fleet groups received General Court's orders and followed them. They abandoned human tactical patterns and returned to standard formations. Within 20 minutes, the Vakar had adapted to the familiar patterns. Those fleet groups began taking heavy casualties again. Sarah watched the tactical displays with frustration. They're making it harder for everyone. The Vakar are learning that standard council formations are vulnerable. It reinforces their original attack patterns. Can we compensate? Torth asked. Yes, but it will cost us. We'll have to take risks we wouldn't need if everyone was coordinating. Sarah pulled up a new strategy. I'm sending you updated recommendations, but Admiral, I need you to know something. My fleet is nearby. We've been monitoring from the drift zones. We can jump in and provide support. The Council hasn't authorized human military involvement, Torth said. Only advisory roles. I know, Sarah replied. But we have 20 ships that could make a difference. Ships designed for exactly this kind of asymmetric warfare. We can help save more lives. Torth was quiet for a moment. Then he said, If I request your assistance, General Court will court-martial me. The political consequences will be severe. Then I'm not asking permission, Sarah said. I'm telling you that human ships are jumping into this battle in 5 minutes. You can coordinate with us or not. That's your choice, but we're not going to sit by and watch people die when we can help. Commander, you don't have authorization, Torth said. But there was no anger in his voice. Admiral, I don't need authorization to do what's right, Sarah responded. That's one thing the Council never understood about humans. We don't help people because we're ordered to. We help because our conscience demands it. 4 minutes later, 20 human ships emerged from faster-than-light travel. They were smaller than Council vessels but faster and more maneuverable. Their weapons used different energy signatures. Their tactics were completely foreign to Council doctrine. The Vakar tried to adapt to this new threat. But human ships moved in patterns that seemed chaotic, but were actually carefully coordinated. They struck at weak points the Vakar didn't know they had. They protected Council vessels that were struggling. They saved evacuation transports that were under attack. General Court watched from his command center with rage building in his chest. This is mutiny. This is unauthorized military action. When this battle ends, I want Admiral Torth arrested. And I want all human ships ordered to stand down immediately. His aide looked nervous. Sir, the humans aren't under our command. We can't order them to do anything. Then we make them stand down, Court said coldly. Send orders to all Council fleet commanders. Any ship that continues coordinating with unauthorized human forces will face disciplinary action. Make it clear. The humans are to withdraw or face consequences. The order went out across the fleet. Some commanders obeyed reluctantly. Others ignored it. The battle became confused as some Council ships continued working with humans, while others pulled away. The Vakar, sensing the disorganization, pressed their advantage. Casualties began climbing again. A Vakar strike force broke through the confused formations and headed directly toward Pelora 4's planetary shields. If those shields fell, billions would die. Admiral Torth saw it happening and felt helpless. His forces were too far out of position. The ships that could intercept were the ones following Court's orders, and they were not coordinating effectively. Sarah saw it too. She made a decision that would change everything. All human vessels, Emergency Protocol 7, she commanded. We're taking that hit ourselves. 20 human ships accelerated to maximum speed, positioning themselves between the Vakar strike force and Pelora 4. They were outnumbered and outgunned. Everyone watching knew what would happen next. The Vakar opened fire. Sarah Chen's flagship shuddered as Vakar weapons tore through its shields. Alarms screamed across the bridge. Her crew worked frantically at their stations. redirecting power and returning fire. Around her ship, 19 other human vessels faced the same desperate situation. Hull breaches on decks 4 and 7, her tactical officer reported. Shield generators at 30%. Hold the line, Sarah ordered calmly. Don't let a single Vekar ship past us. Below them, Pelora 4 rotated peacefully. 15 billion people went about their lives, unaware that 20 human ships were all that stood between them and destruction. People who had never met a human, people whose governments still denied humanity's right to exist. Admiral Torth watched from his command ship with horror. They're going to die. All of them. For people who ordered them to leave. Captain Rick stood beside him, his young face pale. Sir, we have to help them. If I disobey General Court's orders again, I'll be arrested, Torth said, but he was already moving toward the command console. All ships under my direct command. New heading. We're supporting the human fleet. Anyone who wants to follow General Court's orders instead can explain to their families why they let brave people die alone. Not a single ship under Torth's command withdrew. Instead, ships from other fleet groups began breaking formation to join him. Commanders who had been following Court's orders watched the humans sacrifice themselves and could not remain idle. On the Council capital world, representatives gathered around display screens showing the battle. They watched human ships taking devastating damage while protecting a world that had voted against recognizing their existence. Ciara, the young Kryn diplomat, stood in the council chamber, with tears streaming down her face. Do you see? She shouted at the assembled representatives. Do you see what we voted against? They owe us nothing. We denied them justice. We ordered them to leave, and they're dying to protect our people anyway. Morat Ka tried to maintain order. This is a military situation. We should not make political decisions based on emotional reactions. Emotional? Ciara turned on him. Ambassador Velthar was right. We forgot what compassion looks like. We forgot what real honor means. Those humans are showing us right now, and we're too proud to admit it. More representatives began speaking up. Even some who had voted against the humans earlier were changing their minds. The live footage of human ships burning while holding the line was too powerful to ignore. Back at Pelora 4, Sarah's ship took another direct hit. The bridge lights flickered. Fire suppression systems activated automatically. Commander, we've lost main engines, her pilot reported. Drifting out of formation, Sarah looked at her tactical display. 8 human ships were still in the fight, but they were heavily damaged. The Vekar kept coming. She could see Admiral Torth's reinforcements approaching, but they would arrive too late. The Vekar strike force was going to break through, unless someone did something impossible. Sarah made a decision. All human ships. This is Commander Chen. Execute final protocol. We're going to show them what 200 years of survival taught us. Her crew looked at her with understanding. Final protocol was not a standard military tactic. It was something humans had developed in the dark years, when every battle meant extinction if they lost. It was dangerous and desperate and completely insane. It was also their only chance. Redirect all power from life support, weapons, and shields to engines, Sarah ordered. Maximum acceleration directly at the Vekar formation. We're going to ram them. Admiral Torth saw what the humans were planning and felt his blood run cold. No. They can't. That's suicide. But 8 human ships, damaged and burning, accelerated toward the Vekar strike force. They moved faster than ships their size should be able to move. Every system pushed beyond safety limits. Crews in their ships knew they might not survive, but they did it anyway. The Vekar tried to scatter, but humans had calculated their trajectories perfectly. 8 ships struck 8 different Vekar vessels. The explosions lit up space like new stars. The shockwaves disrupted the Vekar formation and destroyed their coordination. Admiral Torth's reinforcements arrived seconds later and tore through the confused Vekar forces. Within 10 minutes, the strike force was eliminated. Pelora 4 was safe. Sarah's ship had been one of the 8. But at the last moment, her crew had managed to eject their command pod. Now it drifted in space, life support, running on emergency power. Her body ached from the impact. Several ribs felt broken. But she was alive. "Status report," she said into her communicator. Her tactical officer's voice came through weakly. 7 command pods successfully ejected. Rescue ships are en route. "Commander, we lost 12 people. They couldn't get to the pods in time. 12 dead, hundreds injured, 8 ships destroyed. All to save people who had denied them justice." Sarah closed her eyes and thought about those 12 crew members. People who had grown up in hiding. People who had survived 2 centuries of exile. People who chose to die protecting strangers because it was the right thing to do. "Record their names," Sarah said quietly. "Make sure everyone knows what they did." Within the hour, rescue ships had picked up all the human survivors. Admiral Torth's medical teams worked alongside human doctors to treat the wounded. Sarah was taken to the Council medical station with severe injuries. As she was carried on a stretcher, she saw something unexpected. Lines of Council soldiers stood at attention, saluting as she passed. They were not following orders. They were showing respect. The Battle of Pelora IV ended with a Council victory. The Viker strike force was destroyed. The planet was saved. And the entire galaxy had watched human ships sacrifice themselves to make it happen. In the Council chamber, an emergency vote was called. This time, the question was simple. Should humanity be recognized as a sovereign species with full rights and representation? Even Moratk, who had fought against it for so long, stood to speak. "I was wrong," he said simply. "I prioritized politics over truth. I let old lies shape current policy. What we saw today was not military tactics or strategic advantage. It was character. It was courage. It was everything we claimed to value but failed to show." The vote was unanimous. 300 representatives voted yes. 0 voted no. Velthar stood at the center platform, feeling centuries of weight lift from his shoulders. "I propose we send a delegation immediately to New Haven Station. We have much to discuss with Commander Chen about the future. And we have apologies to make." Long overdue apologies. 2 weeks later, Sarah Chen stood before the Council. Her ribs were still healing, wrapped in medical supports under her uniform. But she stood straight and proud. The Council had prepared a grand ceremony. They wanted to give medals and honors. They wanted to make speeches about friendship and alliance. Sarah stopped them before they could begin. "We don't need medals," she said clearly. "We need truth. You need to tell your people what really happened to Earth. Put it in your history books. Teach it in your schools. Let the galaxy know that sometimes the powerful make terrible mistakes, and sometimes the powerless survive anyway." She paused, looking around at the assembled representatives. "We also need guarantees. My people will never hide again. We will build new settlements. We will travel freely, and if anyone tries to make us disappear a second time, we will fight, not for conquest, not for revenge, but for the simple right to exist." "You have our word," Ciara said, speaking for the new generation of Council leadership. "And more than that, you have our gratitude. You saved billions of lives. You showed us what honor really means." Sarah nodded slowly. "We didn't save those people for gratitude. We did it because it was right. That's the reality of humans that you forgot. We don't help people because they deserve it or because they'll repay us. We help because our conscience demands it. Because we believe every life matters. Because we remember what it feels like to be powerless and afraid." She looked directly at Velthar, who stood nearby. The old warrior met her eyes with respect. "You assumed our story was finished when Earth burned," Sarah continued. "You thought silence meant extinction. You forgot that humans are survivors. We persist. We adapt. We endure. And when given the choice between revenge and redemption, we choose to be better than those who wronged us." The Council chamber was silent. "That's the reality you forgot," Sarah said. "Humans don't stay defeated. We rise. Always. And when we rise, we lift others with us." 3 months later, human settlements began appearing throughout Council space. Children who had grown up in hiding saw real stars for the first time. Earth remained a memorial world, protected and preserved. But humanity was building new homes, new futures. Admiral Torth served as primary military liaison with human forces. Together, they developed new tactics that combined Council strength with human creativity. The Vakar threat was eventually contained through this cooperation. General Court was removed from command for his actions during the battle. He spent his remaining years writing bitter memoirs that few people read. Velthar retired from politics and spent his time working with human historians, helping them document the true story of the final war. It was his way of seeking forgiveness he knew he could never fully earn. And Sarah Chen became the first human ambassador to the Galactic Council. She represented a people who had survived the impossible, who had forgiven the unforgivable, who proved that humanity's greatest strength was not their ability to fight, but their refusal to become like those who had hurt them. The galaxy had assumed the human story was finished. They forgot that humans write their own endings. And humans always choose hope. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.